Welcome to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson, and this week we are actually going to have part 2 of an interview with Sarah Ware. So this episode, Sarah and I will be discussing the importance of networking and how your network is your net worth, how networking will help you grow your business and expose you to different opportunities that are available if you network. Sarah and I dig into how to network properly and just give examples of things that we do when we're networking. So listen in. Here's the episode. Hope you. Just think about it. I would have not found out about what you did or your industry in terms of what you do in your industry if it wasn't for me networking.
Right.
Or going through my network on trying to get people to be on my show that are diverse, have different backgrounds, and I highlight different aspects of real estate. And you wouldn't be as well-versed in your industry if you didn't network.
Right.
So it's kind of like having to be in the room.
Here you go. Now I can turn to the interviewee. I can be the interviewer.
All right.
So you said something twice that I hear, and I said it, like network. I think there should be some, I don't even want to say training, but you and I can talk about it because I think we are at the age, I don't know what your age is, but I think we're at the age where we have learned how to network. And networking is, like going out, introducing yourself, having that pitch. And I still, there's parts of it I still struggle with because some days you go to someplace, you don't feel like networking, but I just don't feel like it. I don't want to talk to anybody, but those are usually the nights that I feel like, oh, well, this is a come up night. Like I've gotten some good information, some good contacts, but what is networking to you? Because I think that's the missing piece that people don't really want to do or know how to do, because I think grabbing a bunch of cards, that's not networking. I think walking up to everybody, that is not networking. So, I think people have different views of that. And I think that could be a conversation for one of your shows or a panel discussion, because I think that is a lost art.
You're right. And I'll tell you a story since you interviewed me.
Yes.
I moved from Delaware to Georgia. 2015, October 2015. As soon as I got here, I knew I was going to be in real estate in some fashion, whether it was as an agent, as I was, or potentially as a lender. Not knowing many people in my area, what I did was I started networking. What I thought was networking, because back home I was from a small area, so I pretty much knew everybody. Right. It was a little easier, but coming to an area where I was the new kid on the block, so I would go to networking events and meet realtors, meet lenders, insurance agents, different industry things. And I never forget, I was laying in the bed and I had networked 5 days out of 7. I was sitting in the bed.
That's lightweight hustling.
And no lie, I had a stack of business cards this long.
And probably didn't know anybody in that.
And I sat in the bed and I told my wife, I was like, I felt like I wasted my time. I remember people because I'm good with names and faces.
Right. But is that a contact for you? Right. Is that somebody that you want to do? I mean, and I'm not saying that everybody that you take a car from is a business person, but I'm intentional. Like I'm going to places, I research who's on the panel. Oh, they did this. I want to like, how are they going to affect my business? Because I don't even ask for a card, and people can ask for my card, and I'm okay with that. But me, I am going to, if I'm intentional, I am looking. Oh, I want to know this person because this. And like I said, comes over time. I've been at this since 2007. So I still have my struggles, but yeah, I have boxes of cards that you just like what, and then you want to put them in a database and you just blast them and unsubscribe. Like that is not it. Like you can have a good 100 to 200 people in your contacts, and that could be a robust database, or a good 20 if you have 20 of the right people. But yeah, you probably have so many cards, you probably didn't even know one person in there, or didn't even want to look through them. Right.
It was a daunting task, so I came up with a system.
What's your system?
I would speak to people. And I either had on a blazer or a jacket, or I always wear a shirt with a pocket. And if the card if I want to speak to if I met you in an event and I want to follow up with you right away, your card goes in my top pocket.
Oh.
If you're somebody I want to speak to, but you're not saying you're not top pocket, but you're somebody that I need to get back to or want to get back to, you go in my side pocket. If you give me your business card and it's somebody I'm like, I'll take it, but I'm not sure how we can connect or it wasn't a good vibe, you go in my back pocket. So when I get home, I know
top
pocket back is who I'm going to get first, next to side. And then there may be something that I can get from, the cards in the back pocket. And that made it a lot easier. And then all of a sudden the millennials, taught me we don't need cards. Even though I still have them, I don't get their card. They're great at sending you their e-card and they text you. So
yes,
that helped. And just even more so, I started to learn. I don't care if it's 400 people in the room. I really only need one or two good conversations.
Right. That's it. And you can leave. Yeah, you can leave after that. Like, you don't have to be the first or the last one there. You can just like, wow, this is great. Okay, I'm gonna leave.
Yep. So,
but I'm still with a CRM. So with the e-card, I have a question because I struggle with that. If somebody texts you their card and it's in there, there's no way to flag what event it was at. So it's somebody in my phone. I don't even, like, if I forget their name, then what?
That's a good question. So
I'm looking for a service that I can go out and, it's like last night I went to, it was a spring fling. I can put the date of the event and then everybody I meet that night, if they go into some sort of thing, then I can say, okay, let me put these in my LinkedIn. I'm real heavy on LinkedIn. But what separates them? If they're just in my phone, I don't know what to do with that. Because say, for instance, that worked and you had all those e-cards from that one night. That's just a bunch of people you don't know on your phone.
Right. So that's where
another podcast.
It is. It's different.
No, but I have a call with the CRM company that I'm looking to talk to change over to, because I have found from a minority perspective, a CRM that services all of my needs is rarely out there. And when I say that, I'm looking for some very specific things. When I get an RFP, I want to be able to catalog that with somebody. Like if I'm working with a team, I want them all under that. If I meet somebody for an RFP potential, I want them under some sort of database where I'm following up with them for the newsletter or, hey, and talking about certification type stuff. So I actually talked to some coders about doing that myself, and I've gotten real down the line with some conversations. So I'll see if that's something I need to make. But I think it's a very open market, and I'm looking at maybe doing some sort of journal, because I log things differently when I'm at an RFP. Like they're all have numbers on them and scope, and there's like certain things that you just need to know on your front page. So I'm thinking of like some sort of journal to kind of market. I want to make a prototype for me to see if it worked for me.
Gotcha. You know what that sounds like?
Another business.
And what else?
Another
government contract.
Oh yes. Oh, and no, that's really weird, because I can sell to the government because they can give this out at their conferences. So it's going to be like a little thing. So I'm like, well, let me create something. But
Gotcha. So this has been all over the board.
Yes.
However, I still think it's insightful information in terms of, again, I'm gonna beat a dead horse, is we've got to set our businesses up as business. Yes. I'll share my story. I got into real estate. I read my senior year of college, fall of 2001. I stayed home from homecoming to read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, I think we all kind of, came up in that era. Yes.
I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I never forget him going through, S Corps and C Corps and all that. So when I got into real estate, I got in 2004, 2005, I got an S corporation for my real estate business. So the real estate company that I worked for, paid my S corp, and I took a draw on it. So
you were one of the rare realtors.
Yep, the rare realtor that did that. However, I still didn't have the knowledge of how to properly set aside money for taxes, retirement, and different things and such, because I never made that amount of money in my life. And I didn't know anybody in my family who had made that amount of money. So I owed the IRS, and I had that thing. I was like, okay, there you go.
That white envelope you put to the side. We all know the white envelope.
Yep. But as you learn and you go through those scenarios, you begin to learn. And there's so much more information. You mentioned it in the podcast, self-directed IRAs, and, you got the Roth IRAs, and, people don't know. Yep. SEP.
That's for business. Mm-hmm.
Yep. People don't know that you can do a self-directed 401k. Like, there's so many things that we don't know, and those are utilized as helping, a tax shelter. So if you make $200,000, you don't have to try to write off 180 because you don't want to pay a bill.
Because entrepreneurs are like the richest for a reason.
Yep. And their, tax laws are set up for us to succeed.
And, but just to piggyback on what you said, I won't beat us up on the not setting our businesses up right, because we started behind the 8 ball. So our opportunities were at birth. We were behind the 8 ball. So having to run up and, so I applaud anybody who starts a business or just have that desire, because it's it can be harder than most, and you do sacrifice a lot when it comes, and it may not be just money. It's certain things like time, relationships with people, family. So from that sense, I don't apologize for not knowing, because if you don't know what you don't know. But I took ownership of it, because at the end of the day, you probably did what I did. Who made all this money when you try to do your taxes? Where is that money at? I don't have it. Who said I made all this money and I got to pay these taxes? Because that's not what I have in my account. And it's easy to say, set some money aside. But when you got bills, you like, set what money aside? Like, that's just what it is. And so I just tell people, don't beat yourself up. Just kind of tackle it and just come up with a plan and stick to it. Because, the top, 10, 20%, but but I'm on the other side right now, but it's another Gusto. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
Gusto, maybe it's Gusto, but it's a accounting. It's easy. It runs your payroll from a small, like you can do one person, one independent contractor, and it'll do all your forms and taxes, and it's very economical. So I've told several people about that, even though my accountant does mine. But if I didn't, I think independent contractors maybe be like $6 for each one. They have a setup fee, but they'll be responsible for sending them their W-9, all of that. So, but Gusto, because people are like, Sarah, oh my God, thank you. And they can help you make sure you pay people on time at a cost that is for the small business owner. And I'm meaning 5 or less, like it does your payroll and stuff like that. So I think that's a good tool.
So we have, we've discussed, the so many things, right? If you had, and so it goes back to once we get to that paperwork phase, then It kind of weeds us out.
Yes.
So we can get over that hurdle. What would be 1 or 2 things of advice you would have that person do so they don't give up too soon?
I would have them speak to a small business consultant, and I am not going to discourage them from paying for it, but you do not have to pay for it, because the people that work in those offices, they will help you do it for no cost. And there's a lot of grants because they're already getting paid to do it for you, and they're very capable of doing it. So they will talk about your business structure. And then part of it is they will ask questions of you to make you think, because I think people think you can just jump into a business and I want to be a millionaire overnight. On Instagram, and that's the business. So they make you slow your process down and become very strategic and thoughtful and planned in your strategy. So it slows you down, and that to me will weed you out. So, but if you go to somebody and say, I can set your business up for you, and you pay for everything and it just sits there and you've done nothing, it doesn't help you come up with a plan. Like you think about like, okay, what is my plan? And it helps you kind of like, oh yeah, I want to be this and I want to do all these things, but it helps you kind of hone in to something, because then you can kind of, from that, you can strategize, because once you start writing it down and you got 15 ideas, that becomes down real quick when you having to start thinking about how you're going to make money. Like, how is this idea going to make money to sustain yourself? And don't quit your day job. And because I was part-time as a realtor first, I meant to say that, like, it's okay to work your 5 to 9 as an entrepreneur after your 9 to 5. So, but get your process in order and sit down with a professional to help you kind of sort your thoughts out.
Gotcha. It makes sense. Something I didn't ask you, I think, is important, a good question, I would say. What does it cost to get certified?
So in Chicago, they were charging $250 for 5 years, which is
$50 a year.
And I think they're going to no charge now. The women's business certification, they do that. It's a sliding scale depending on business under $1 million. I think it's $250 or $350 a year. And then the other certification for the Minority Supplier Diversity Council is, so those are, so the ones that charge now are pretty much private sector. So Women's Business Development Center, their certification helps you get into private sector work. The Chicago the Minority Supplier Diversity Council, it's a lot of private sector work as well. So I think that one is $300 annually. The SBA, no charge. State certification, no charge. And I'm talking Illinois. So, and people may look at $350 or $300, like you divide by 12, and you think of it as a membership. So, but I do stress this: work your certifications with the tools that they give you. So if you don't have the bandwidth to work all these agencies, then don't do it. Just focus on one. Like, let me just focus on this one, and then see if, because you can get a certification and people are like, nothing happened. I'm like, that's because you have to work. And if you were out there going to the fairs, putting your name out there, really doing it, it may not be like, okay, well, that I may not renew because I did it, but you have to figure out in your business plan, what is the time frame you want to give your certification? Like, I have a time frame. If I don't do business with a certain certification, then I may go. But fortunately, I have gotten business from all of them so far. And business may not be monetary, may be a connection with somebody to help you do something or connect you with somebody else, because a lot of it is just networking. So you just may pay that for the entry fee to be involved in their network.
Got you. Sarah, this is awesome. For anyone who would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Email. My email is Sarah, SARAH, at Ware Realty Group, warerealtygroup.com. Or I am on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I have a TikTok, and it's Ware Sarah L. WareSarahL. I always use my middle initial because you would not believe the number of Sarah Wares that are out there. But you can DM me on my social media. Ware Realty Group is my business page on Facebook. But email, all that. No phone calls.
Thank you for your time. This has been the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson. Guest Sarah Ware. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with Kevin Jefferson. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when the latest video drops.